So we've got a problem. The engine was doing the hunting thing again very badly, to the point of actually nearly stopping. So I attempted to bleed it and have succeeded in making it worse. For some reason, the pump that I installed to pump diesel through to bleed it doesn't pump, as though there's some kind of blockage. And anyhow, along the way I've got more air into the second filter and the engine doesn't start anymore. So we're a sailboat, you know, we're sailing at 1.2 knots right this second, but I don't know where we're going to go. It's got to be somewhere that I can anchor under sail. I've got to find an alternative, or somehow I mend it as we're going, but of course that's tricky because as soon as I let go of the tiller we go anywhere but the way we want to go. So we'll see what comes of this. Gotta think. So yes, that was the situation at the end of last week, but unfortunately it got even worse. Well, you know, it wasn't desperate, was it? But it did get worse in that the wind dropped completely, and there I was literally bobbing, and had a little countercurrent, so actually going backwards at 0.6 knots away from my destination. Every now and again a little bit of breeze would come up and I'd sail forwards at a knot and think, oh, this is good. I could see a cardinal buoy which is off the east side of Fehmarn. I was very close to it, and I'd sail forwards for 5-10 minutes up towards that buoy, and then it'd drop again and I'd be drifting back at 0.6 knots away from it, and it was kind of crazy. And obviously, you know, the light was getting low, and I was thinking about how I could get somewhere, and actually just around the corner there was a beach that would have offered a possibility of an anchorage, and I tried, you know, wiggling the tiller, and I was propelling us forwards by wiggling the tiller, but it was all not very successful. And then a sort of serendipitous moment occurred, and I saw a ship approaching, a sort of military looking ship, and it turned out to be the German Coast Guard, and they went past very, very slowly, clearly having a good look at me. And I thought, oh, what the hell? And I called them up on the radio, on the VHF, and they were instantly very, very friendly, very, very helpful. And they said they'd send a rib over with a mechanic in it to have a look. Well, it turned out it was 4 or 5 guys, and some of them were no doubt checking me out. But a mechanic came on board, and you know, I thought it can't hurt to have a second opinion, a second pair of eyes, second brain on the job. He went through, bled the system through, and couldn't get it going. And then they said they'd call up somebody to give me a tow, which they did. Well, the German Coast Guard went past, and I called them on the radio, and they're circling me now, and they're going to send somebody over in a rib to have a look at the engine. I'll be very surprised if you can do anything, but and then if not, they will organise a tow for me, which is all very, very wonderful. How exciting. So the nice Coast Guard people came on board for quite a while, actually. One of them was a mechanic, so he had a look, couldn't fix it, but he thinks it's the lift pump, and he could be right. He might be right. I have a theory, I'll tell you that later. They've organised a tow, so I'm now bobbing out here waiting for a tow vessel to come and get me. There's no wind. Well, there's right this second there's a very light puff, but enough to maybe make 1 knot. But it's supposed to be half an hour, they said, from, which is now a good 10 minutes ago. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be expensive. Oh well, that's life. At least we're all safe. That's the important thing, isn't it? And they're great, the Coast Guard, really friendly, nice people. That's them waiting to see that everything turns out okay, and I guess just to also make sure that no boats run into me as I'm out here. They're obviously a lot more noticeable than I am, so it's really nice. Great service. But out of here you won't see much, it's pitch dark. But
after we've just got the line on the bow, and they're taking up the slack, I think. There we go. Is that 5 knots? He's giving gas. 5.3. Well, we're underway. Quite exciting, really.
Well, that was pretty exhilarating. They told me at times, according to the plotter, the GPS on the plotter, at times at over 7 knots, and it's only the fastest Tapatya's ever been. I'm on the tiller, you know. We're scooting along, really are, and I say pretty exhilarating. They were thoroughly professional, the guys, the tow guys, SAR, and what a great job, what a great service. And it turned out, I didn't know it's free. You know, the SAR, all like the RNLI in the UK, it all operates off of donations. Fantastic. So, yeah, give them a donation. Well worth it. Brilliant service. Towed me into the local marina on the island of Female. Tied me up to the commercial dock. Well, you know, I helped, clearly. I had a good night's sleep. And the next morning, the harbour master came by, unfortunately, and said they got a big ship coming in and I needed to move. So that got me into the engine room pretty swiftly.
Well, as you might hear, it's running. It took me about 10 minutes when I was tied to the dock and, you know, could leave the tiller alone, all of that. I'll move away so you can hear me better. It was the wackiest thing. Wacky. I've got this lovely... I'm going back now. Oh dear. That's a hand piston pump that I put in for, because it makes it much easier to bleed the diesel system. It pumps diesel through. And there was a blockage in it. Totally mad. And what I've had to do is screw in unions either into it that the hose is attached to. What I've had to do is put a bit of space in. At the moment it's a rubber washer, but I'll change it for a couple of copper washers later. Behind one of those unions, then the diesel would flow through all right, and all's well. But it wasn't like that when I fitted it. It worked perfectly when I fitted it. So somewhere along the line, something has swollen in that. Very, very strange. Very strange indeed. And stopped the diesel being able to flow through that pump. And obviously, you know, it was working until yesterday, although with a restriction, clearly, because that would be the cause of the hunting. Very, very strange. Very strange. But that's what it is, you see. That's what I've done. I've packed out the exit union from that hand pump so it doesn't screw quite as far in. And away she went. Perfect. So I'll let her run now for a good while. Check all's well. Strange one. Well, I took a berth in the marina there and motored round after I left the engine running for half an hour, and then I say motored round to the berth, to the slip there, and it all ran perfectly. Beautiful. But the weather forecast wasn't very good. You might remember when I set off at the start of the last week's episode, there was a 2-day weather window and I'd used that up. So we had a week of strong winds, or stronger winds. And so I took the opportunity, nipped home for a few days, and left her there for the best part of a week. And then the following weekend, went back up there with view to moving her, the final leg, onto her winter mooring. Just got back to the boat, been away a few days, best part of a week actually. And opened up the engine room just to check it and turn the sea clock on. And look what I found. Load of broken glass. Load of diesel in the bilge. And what it is the glass water trap bowl from the bottom of the diesel filter has disintegrated. How on earth has that happened? It's ludicrous. How could that be possible? I've got to try and find one. I can't go anywhere like that. Or bypass it, I suppose. So I couldn't get a diesel filter bowl, which I didn't expect to get, and I couldn't even get a complete diesel filter here, which that did surprise me because I would have changed the entire unit. So I've had to bypass temporarily, obviously. So that's the line coming from the tank going straight into the lift pump. And then I've got the diesel overflow line running down into that can, which should everything work when I test it in a minute. I will lash up in a place that it can't possibly fall over. I think it's going to work. I've bled it through. We'll give it a go. Check it every hour, see how it goes with that return line, see how much comes through there. Engine runs, something rather to and fro on this one, but I think this winter I shall run that return line back to the tank. You wouldn't have thought it's necessary. There's no way the return can be more than the into the engine, so, and some engines certainly run the return line back to the diesel filter, but I don't know if that's causing problems. If the warm diesel coming out is causing some sort of problem, I'd rather doubt it, but perhaps just to be on the safe side we'll run it back to the tank. It's 6:30 in the morning, I'm up. Just starting to get ready for what will be the final sail of the season, all being well. It's a bit tricky to get out of here, so I won't be leaving till daylight, but I do want to be going as soon as there is some light, so that's the reason for the reasonably early start. And looking forward to it. It's going to be cold. It's a high of, no, not high, that's wrong. It's going to, first couple of hours it'll be 5 degrees Celsius, so a little bit chilly, and oh yeah, to dress up warm. So we're underway. Sun's just come up out of the void channel. Got the engine off and sailing. It's windward, but we're doing okay. Yeah, doing okay. Not the ideal course, of course. That's the nature of windward, isn't it? But yeah, we're doing okay. Nice flat seas. Show you a bit of water. Well, that was a bit of a shock when I turned up there and found that diesel filter smashed, and with hindsight, and I don't really want to point any fingers, but I can only imagine that the mechanic guy who came on board from the Coast Guard over tightened that. I hadn't touched it. And maybe he tried to bleed that filter from the wrong screw, the central screw that tightens the whole thing up together, and then wound it up tight. Then we had a few cold days, and I guess that, you know, contracted the bolt more, and it just put too much tension on the glass, and it was a glass, and it just shattered. And as I said, I couldn't get one anywhere there, so as you saw, bypass was the only way forwards. And setting off in once more a less than satisfactory setup. Oh well, we'll find out how it goes. We're ending there. Thank you for watching. As ever, massive thank you to the lovely people who support us on Patreon or via PayPal. You guys make these videos possible. Talk to you soon. Bye.